presentation because I think it'll make sense when I... Oh, we love technology, don't we? We love it when it works, and we hate it when it doesn't. But I do want to thank all of you for coming. And I sincerely mean this. I feel really honored to be able to share my presentation with you all. And I've been in the industry a long time. I won't tell you how many. Well, I'll tell you how many years. It's been over 30 years. I've been in the longer than some of you have been alive. But I believe that the topic I'm going to talk about today, in my view, is, to me, the most important business building topic around, because I believe that sales, and you'll see how I believe that sales is truly the most important thing to building business. You can't build business without sales. You can have the best marketing, you can have the best product, you can have the best everything, but if you don't have the foundation of sales, it doesn't matter. And I've sold some pretty darn beautiful product, so I know that that's true. People can love your product, love, love, love. When I first became a manager, that's what I used to ask when my salespeople come back in the showroom, and I'd say, how'd they like it? And this is when I was working for Jack Larson. I'd say, how'd they like it? And they said, oh, they loved everything. And oh, wow, yay, they loved everything. And then I would look at the sales, and it'd be cricket, cricket. So I learned quickly that loving something does not make a sale. So, as I said, my name is Deborah Flate here, and my company is Dialogue Consulting. And I've been doing this presentation for about 2 years now, and I've been really lucky to speak at IDEX and Neocon, and it's always sold out. So it's not people I know. So it's really people who are interested in the subject. I think that people realize now, since 2008, that we really have to act differently and do business differently. And I'm really crusading to really think differently. I was telling somebody that I would love to use that phrase, but of course I can't, because I don't want Steve Jobs' company to come and sue me. But that really is what I want our beloved industry to do. And I also believe everybody's a salesperson, no matter what position you're in. Even if you're a facility manager, you still have to sell your ideas. So everyone is a salesperson. So one of the things I do is X out dialogue connection, which I haven't used since 1922. One of the things that I do a lot of is I'm a geek, and I read a ton of websites and books, and listen to CDs, and I do a ton of reading about business building, motivational sales building, because I always say I am never above stealing. I mean, being inspired by a great idea. I can incorporate that. So this man who writes this, and I'm a little more housekeeping right before I'm going to back up for a second. I am going to pass the sheet out. And so if any of you, I do other things regarding sales. I have a lot of other opportunities to work with you further if you want. And also, I'm going to want to, and I will talk to Michelle, but collect your email addresses, because I will send you a report, and I'll show you at the end of it. I'm going to send you a report on the 10 top best-selling tips that I wrote. I'm writing a book now, and it comes right out of my book. And I also will write my Facebook page and all of the things that I referenced today that are not mine personally, that I've been inspired by. So this is one. His name is Sam Parker, and he writes a lot of incredible sales and motivational little tiny books and stuff. And he has a great website. And what he refers to in this is water, and how one small change can create a huge difference. Because as a consultant, when I go into a company, of course, the first thing is people get scared because they think I'm going to come in and just turn everything upside down. And I really have never done that. Even though I'm a change agent, I've never done that. I always analyze and then incorporate and do things that I know will work better, but I never change the culture of the company. That's not my job. So I always say that one small change can make a difference, because this is water at 211 degrees. But if we change it, oops, come on. There we go. If we change it just one more degree, water, it turns into steam and it powers a locomotive. Just 1 degree difference. And that's what one of his websites is called. It's called 212 degrees. And that's what I'm going to ask of everyone today, is to just think of small changes that we can make. So what you're going to learn today are techniques. I don't train in product, even though I have been a national and I'm doing a lot of training now. I use the product, of course, but I don't sell the product. What I do are techniques that help you increase your sales, or selling more. So what you're going to learn today is selling versus presenting, why passion increases sales, how to sell by being a perceived expert, which is one of the most important things I've ever learned. Ask and you shall receive, or you will receive. How it's so important to analyze what you're doing. And as salespeople, we rarely take the opportunity to do that. And how slowing down can increase your sales. Hello, come on in.
Should I grab lunch out there?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, go ahead. And starting with a good reason of following up, because we all have to follow up as salespeople, but those are 2 words that are not, hopefully not in my vocabulary, follow up. And all of this leads to stronger and more consistent sales. And I'm going to tell you that I just want to give you a little warning that I am not a conventional trainer. You will see in my presentation. I hope that you'll find it funny. I hope you'll find some of the artwork I use, because I want this to be light. I don't want this to be, and then another graph. I don't use graphs. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't have acronyms. You know, S is for the, I don't do any of that stuff. Just a warning. There you go. That's one of my graphics. So just to tell you a little bit about my background, I'm actually an interior designer by degree. I have a degree in interior architecture from Kent State. I practiced interior design for about 6 years. I did hospitality, residential. Hello, welcome. And we're going to get cozy here. We'll wait till they get seated. And then I moved to Chicago. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a Midwest gal. I moved to Chicago, and I started getting in on the other side of design at the beginning. I worked for Kimball and Artec for 2.5 years in the showroom, and then I went to a dealership. Now, no offense, I love dealerships. I called them in for years. It wasn't for me. I couldn't count one more Steelcase 9000 if I wanted to. I had a studio apartment, and I used to take these big blueprints home, because we had blueprints back in the day, in the 80s. We had blueprints, and I would sit cross-legged on my bed, because it was the only piece of furniture I had, over and over again. 1, 2, 3. And I worked in the design department. 1, 2, 3, 4. I said, this isn't for me. This just isn't for me. And my design director, who's still in the industry, took me out to dinner one night and said, you know, I can see you are not happy. I said, oh, you're right, I hate this. And she said, I think you'd be really good in sales. And I said, sales? I haven't even paid off my student loan. What are you talking about? And she said, no, really. So from there, I did get into sales. That's where I started my sales career. I worked for Brett Fabrics. I launched their contract line. I then went to Dondia as a senior outside salesperson for a little over 4 years. And then I got into management to the Jacqueline R. Larson showroom in the Mart. It's now owned by Calvin Tao. But I did contract sales. I didn't do residential sales. Not much. I did a little, but mostly contract. And what I learned there was how to turn a company around. And I was really excited doing that. So I was funneling that left brain function through my creative brain and would turn the showroom around. So a year later, the showroom, after not being profitable for over 10 years, was profitable. So I learned a lot there. And then I worked in one other showroom that I also turned around. I can say this now because they're closed, not because of me, but it's not proprietary. When I started there, we were a $2.5 million company, and when I left 2.5 years later, we were a $7.5 million company. So I know how to increase sales, I know how to increase business, and I know how to turn companies around. So now I share all of that with my clients. So what I know for sure, as I was saying before, is sales is the foundation of any business. You cannot have a business without sales. You just can't. Come on, go. Go. There you go. And 2008 to me changed everything. I just spoke at IDEX so many acronyms. IDEX a couple of weeks ago, and Canada hasn't been as affected as the United States, but no matter where you go in the world, we hear it on the news every day, we're all affected by it. So 2008 to me was a game changer. I actually lost every single client that I had in 2008, so my business went down the tubes fast in 1 month. So I had to learn really quickly how to do my business differently. Now I do it a lot differently. The buying habits have changed for people, and we have to really think differently. It's not what we're doing, but how we're doing it. And that's what we have to think about and change, how we're doing things. So this is the old way. This is the way. I was never really trained in sales. I have to tell you, I never had anybody train me. But this is what we used to do. We used to have a product, a smile. We'd go into a client, throw everything in front of them, do what I call the flip show, because I used to do it. So we used to go in, hello. Hi, Tracy. That's okay. Hi. Make yourself comfortable. So we used to do what I call the flip show. So for those of us who used to do like fabric and softwoods leather, we used to go in and we used to go, hi, how you doing? Are you busy? And they'd say, yeah, we're busy. Great, okay. Well, let me show you what I have today. Zip, flip, 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 flip. And so we do the flip show. We talk about our product and how it's the best and how it meets 8 million, 100,000 double rubs and ASTM and whatever. And then we left. Or if you have a catalog, we do flip, 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 and then we left. That just doesn't work anymore. We also went through a phase where we did features and benefits. You know, the feature of this is blah, 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 and the benefit of that is blah, blah, blah. And that worked okay. I don't think it worked well, but it's okay. It helped us through a good economy. Come on, honey. But the truth is that, like our economy, to me, in my view, was built on a house of cards. I think we had a good economy, and no matter what we did, even if we did sales techniques that don't work today, they work better in pre-2008. So when I get hired by a client, this is what I usually see for sales. Up, down, that's salesperson 1. Up, down, salesperson 2. Up, down, salesperson 3. And whenever I see that kind of fluctuation, what it tells me is salespeople are not using the right techniques, that they're going out and using the pre-2008 techniques, and that doesn't work anymore. I've seen this pre-2008 too, but now I see it even more often. Or even worse, I see... I guess I have to have like the magic touch here. Come on. There we go. Oh well. So you saw the flat line. So more often I see a flat line. And I'm talking about multi-million-dollar companies. I'm not talking about mom and pop companies. I'm talking about multi-million-dollar companies that are calling me, asking me to find them new sales reps because their sales are down. And what I always say to them, and they don't always listen, but some of them do, fortunately for me, what I say to them is, you can find more reps. I'll find you a rep. I can find reps. That's not a problem. But you're going to have the same situation a year down the road because you've got to train these reps. If they're not selling, I would err on the side of training them first. Then if it's not working, we can move to finding new reps. But I believe they need training. That's been my experience. So now what do? We have a laptop that doesn't work.
You try to enter.
Oh, there you go. So smart. Oh, thank you. we have to change the way we do business and the way I understand IT. So we have to be change agents. So I'm hoping all of you in here walk out of this presentation saying that you're going to do things differently, that you're going to be change agents. And you're going to be open to new ideas, and you're going to stand out, because we need to stand out. We can't be the same coming in and out, sales representatives or whatever our jobs are, whether it's a CEO, a sales representative, working at a dealership, whatever it is, we can't do business in the same way, because I just don't think it's going to work. And we need to sharpen our skills. So I have always said this. Good business people, or good salespeople, think they know everything. I've come up against many who think they know everything. You can't teach me anything. I already do that. Oh, yeah, I already do that. Oh, yeah. No, I do that already. And I think in my head, well, then why are your sales so awful if you do all of this already? But great business people know they don't know. They don't know everything. And so they're always open to doing things differently. And successful people are always open to analyzing, learning, and thinking differently, doing things differently. Because a client today has a lot of options, many, many, many options in front of them. So these are some of my favorite change agents of many. There are many I have, but these are 3 of my favorite because these are men who have taken an ordinary idea and made it extraordinary. Jeff Bezos took a book and made an extraordinary business out of that. A simple book. And Virgin Airlines, simple, how many airlines are there competing? And James Dyson, for those that don't know, he's a multi-billionaire and he invented the Dyson vacuum cleaner. A vacuum cleaner. But because they thought differently, they were change agents, they were able to really build these, in horrible economies and everything else, they were able to sustain their business and grow it and grow it and grow it. So this is what research tells us. This is really crazy, you guys. That's why I try to look at everybody if they're not sleeping. The attention spans have decreased from 12 seconds in 2010 to only 8 seconds now. So you have 8 seconds of attention span now. That's really sad. And it takes, this is from Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote the book Blink, and he wrote that it takes 3 seconds for people to get an initial impression. And I know that when you look on a website, when everybody look, I know I do this, and I'm guessing all of you do this, and you can raise your hand or tell me. When I start to bring up a website, if I'm not impressed with a color or with whatever it is, in the first 2 seconds, I'm off that website. If I'm Googling something and I hit that button or that link to go to a website, and if it looks like weird and doesn't impress me, I'm off that website in a second. Do most of you do that? Most of you do that? Think about, you're on a website, no, this isn't what I want. You don't even read it, you don't even do it, it's just the way it looks. No, this isn't what I want. Too much to read, or whatever the reason may be. And your sales presentation will be forgotten in less than 60 minutes after you leave if you only continue to go into your sales calls and sell your product. It will be, or your services, it will be forgotten in 60 minutes. Because clients see an average of 4 salespeople a day. And they see an average of over at least 250 products a week. And with the advent of obviously of websites, that's what designers do first, that's what people do first. They want something, we all do it. We want something, and what do we do first? We look on the websites, we Google it, right? We want a toaster oven. Google it, and then we find what we want, and then we find that that's what designers are doing, that's what end users are doing, that's what everybody's doing. You want to find something, you Google it. The other thing is people have half the time and twice the amount of work today. So if you tell them things, information they don't want to hear, if you show them product they don't need at the moment, their minds are they're going to shut off. They're not going to pay any attention. They're going to forget you right as you leave. They're going to forget everything you said. And there's 45 minutes of a presentation that may be lost. So this is a wake-up call, is that you are the only person responsible for your destiny in sales. And it's really your mindset, not the circumstances. It is not the circumstances. It is your mindset going into a sales meeting. And if you keep saying that excuses and the economy are the problem, you're never going to find a solution. Because the economy is problematic. It certainly has gotten us to think differently, I hope, and hopefully I can bring some of that to you. But if you keep backing off and saying, it's just the economy, man, I can't do anything, I can't sell, then that's going to be your results. And as I said, the only activity to increasing business is selling. So good salespeople see an obstacle, and they look at it, and they say, okay, and they back down, they fall on their back, and they say, I can't do it. There's too much. You'll see all the excuses in another sign. Great salespeople and great business people like Charles Dyson, who did, I think he did his vacuum cleaner, he did 1,000 prototypes, something like that. And he had no money. He did not come from money. He had no money. I mean, it's not like he was some wealthy guy that decided to, do this. He did 1,000 prototypes before he got the one right. So he kept going around those obstacles. He didn't let anything stop him. And the other thing is that we are all, I said this to a few people out in the lobby, we are all salespeople, no matter whether we sell IFMA, whether we sell product, whether we sell furniture, whether we sell whatever it is, we're all salespeople or services. So here's all the excuses as a national for 2 companies that I have heard, and I have to tell you I've given some of these, and I won't ask anybody if they've given them, but I know I have. And of course, right now, the one that's given the most is the one at the top, the economy. Oh my God, the economy, I can't sell anything. And then I hear this one at the bottom all the time too, this one. No one is buying. No one is buying. It's all, I just heard this from a rep the other day. Oh my God. No one's buying it. It all boils down to price, and I can't sell this. It's too expensive. Because it's really you that drive the sale. It's not your product, it's not your service, it's not any of that. It's really you that drive the sales. And if you're hearing that from clients, I always said that when I worked at Dongia and Larson, you can't get much more high-end than that. And when I would hear that, what I would say in my mind is I'm calling on the wrong people. If I had to do what I call the kitty litter shuffle, if they say, oh, we love this fabric, Deborah, but it's way too expensive. If I have to start to defend the cost of it, I said in my mind, these are the wrong people. They're just the wrong people. I'm not going to defend the price. I'm not going to give them discounts right away. So it's the salesperson's job to push the process forward. And I think a lot of us forget about that until something is called. We get a call, hey, I'm speccing these chairs, or I'm speccing this fabric, and then we start to run and service the client. But it's really the process, the entire process. And we're always, this is the #1 question people ask me, how do you close? And there's so many sales trainers out there that talk about closing. And what I say, I think I have a slide on this, is you're closing from the minute you walk in the door. That's when you start closing. You don't go through a process and then go, oh, and by the way, this is old. This is how I was taught. I was trained to sell in one of my jobs when I was in Cleveland. It was for a furniture store. And the technique would be, I'm sure some of you have heard this, do you want us to deliver that on Wednesday or Thursday? We'll be in your area. That was like a closing technique. But I say you're closing from the minute you walk across that threshold, you're closing. So now we're going to put the pieces together for results, because that's what we want. So remember to sell, don't tell. And I love this cartoon. That's a great question. Come to think of it, I'm not sure what it is I'm trying to sell you. So you're not telling people, you're selling them. You're a salesperson, and you're not just a presenter. We use that term in our industry a lot. We're going out and giving a presentation, which is just colloquialism, but we're really not presenting. We're really salespeople, because this is the definition of a presenter. Do you see money up there at all? Do you see sales, money? You're just giving information. That's the flip show. You're just giving information to them. But the definition of a sale is the exchange of goods or services for an amount of money. That's the difference between presenting and selling. So I think that it's really wise doing business differently, that we follow in a doctor's footsteps. Because here's what a doctor does. He or she questions, he or she assesses, he or she diagnoses, and then prescribes. So it would be really strange to go into a doctor's office and not tell him or her anything that's going on in your health, and they immediately say, I'm going to prescribe these drugs for you. But I haven't told you what I need. It doesn't matter, I'm just prescribing Valium. So you're getting a lifetime supply of Valium. Wouldn't that be strange? I mean, that would be great. That would be great, right? Well, that's my doctor, but I'll give her name later. And as salespeople, salespeople, what do? We go in and we start giving them information and we don't even know what's going on yet. We may have asked a few questions on the surface, but I don't think most of us really get down to what they need, what the customer or the client needs. So don't forget, you cannot sell just product. This is going to happen. I'm going to show this over and over and over again because that's what most of us as salespeople have done over the years. And if there's any designers, I give this where there are designers, design services, all services are your product. So you can't just sell interior design services. So you ask, why not? There's a lot of reasons. One is someone is going to come in behind you and they're going to have it bigger, better, faster, cheaper, wiser, everything you mentioned. They're going to have more bells and whistles. Theirs is the best. Oh my gosh, it came from the heavens. So that's not going to work. The other thing is that the intrinsic need is shrinking. There's not as much intrinsic need anymore. So what worked before, when in my selling career, because I sold pre-2008, and again, I don't think it worked well, but it worked okay because I had enough business to sustain my sales goals, is that I would go in and I would just start flipping, and the designer would stop and say, oh, I want a memo of that, or oh, I want a tear sheet of that, because they had more business, they had less choices, and so the intrinsic need became bigger. Well, now that intrinsic need is shrinking. And this is what happens, and I hear this all the time. It turns into a price war. It turns into the bottom line. I hear this all the time. It doesn't have to. I promise you, it does not have to be a price war. No matter how much these designers or your end users are telling you that it's all about price, it really isn't. It's about value. And speaking of product, Starbucks. Who drinks Starbucks in here? Okay, who thinks they're really coffee aficionados? No? You don't think so? I do. Man, I love coffee, and I think I know what I'm drinking. But Starbucks actually does not sell coffee, because if they did, they'd be McDonald's. They don't sell coffee. They don't sell product. We don't drive to that mermaid, and I drive to that damn mermaid every single time. I don't drive there because of the coffee, believe me, because I really do think their coffee is kind of sucky. I mean, I usually end up getting like an Americano or something, right? Starbucks is really not good coffee. But they are are you ready for this? Hi, come on in.
Hi. Full house.
Full house. They are a $10.2 billion company selling not really great coffee. And this is the reason why. They don't sell coffee. They sell the experience. They don't sell the product. If they just sold product, they'd be McDonald's, seriously. And McDonald's sells a lot of coffee, but not $10.2 billion worth. They sell the entire experience. That's why I drive there. And I work because I work from my home, so a lot of times I drive. I'm not going to sit at McDonald's and do my work. Heck no, I'm going to sit here in a comfy chair with other really cool people, right? I mean, that's why we go there. That's the reason we go there. It's not for the coffee. So this becomes the value to you. When I talk about selling value, that's the value. The value is you know what you're going to get, lousy coffee, but you know you're going to get a beautiful place to be in with great chairs, beautiful decor, baristas who no matter what you order, and we have all heard those orders, half cap, decaf, nap, 112 degrees, 14 bubbles of in the milk, and they just go, okay, and they go back and they do their 12 bubbles in the milk, and that's it. So we're going to turn now a presentation into a sale. And Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, of course, is another one of my spiritual leaders in business. He literally turned the music industry pretty much by himself. I mean, he had obviously had staff, but pretty much by his own thoughts, he turned the music industry upside down. I mean, the music industry was never the same after that little device came out, that little thing came out. So here's some statistics, and what I want you to notice is the year. 2010, the height of the recession, folks, the height of the recession. iPads sold 3 million units in the first 80 days in 2010. They were lined up. We saw it on the news, right? When iPads came out, they were lined up. How many people have iPads? I don't. I need to get one, but I don't know why. But I need to get one. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it, but I need to get one because I have a hard time with that. I know. Look at this clunky thing. I need to get one. So I'm going to define what true needs are. So true needs are shelter, food, water, and clothing. Those are true needs. We can't, well, some of us probably if we're a nudist colony, but those are the 4 needs we need to really function in the world, right? Based on those 4 needs, how many need an iPad? Right? We don't need iPads, but dang, we're out there buying them. Because he's created an amazing market. He's an incredible marketing person. Because we don't need, I'm telling you, I want an iPad. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. But I'm going to look cool, dang it. So we're going to learn how to sell like Steve Jobs. So how does he sell? He has passion and enthusiasm. He certainly has confidence to the point that some people have described it as arrogance. He had incredible discipline, and every one of those people I showed you up on that screen have incredible discipline. And he has set goals. I mean, if any of you have read his biography, he was truly just an amazing person. And he always started with the question, why? This is one of the things one of the links I'm going to put on your handout that I email you. There's a speaker that spoke at TED, which I want to do. That's my goal, to speak at TED for my 11 minutes. And he speaks, his name is Simon Sinek, and he speaks on why. And he talks about Steve Jobs, he talks about Martin Luther King, that they start with the question why, which is now what I'm asking you as salespeople to always start with the question why. Because that's what's going to give you some answers, some really good answers of why you're doing what you're doing. Always think about why. He also knew how to persuade, and as salespeople, we have to persuade. That's the bottom line. You can call it manipulation, you can call it whatever you want, but we got to persuade these people. And he had tremendous focus. And I think in this day, because of being barraged with everything, and we don't have time, and I say our heads are like, you know those stick blenders that I used to puree soup? We all have them in the top of our head. They're like, ring, ring. They're like whirring our brains around because we have so much to do and so much going on. But successful people are incredibly focused, incredibly focused. They dig deeper, not wider. They dig deeper, not wider. And he got people to take action. 3 million units in 80 days of iPads in 2010. So these are some people I also think were amazing, amazing influencers and amazing change agents. These people all changed the world primarily by their own thoughts and by their own beliefs. They've changed the world. No matter what you think politically, because I tried not to be political, so no matter, I've got everyone covered, but no matter what you think politically, these are all change agents. These people are all change agents. And it started with them, the way it can start with you, and they just said, I'm not going to do it that way anymore because it hasn't worked too well. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to do that 1 degree. So what makes a good persuader is they're passionate, they believe in themselves and their product, they have knowledge about their audience, which some of us just walk in and we have no idea where we're going, but we have to go to a 3-letter design firm, I don't know what I'm doing. They have perceived expertise, and I'm not throwing stones, people. I did this all myself in my sales career. That's how I know this. I did it all myself, so I'm not casting any stones. They have a clear and concise message. They have ownership of the room. They engage people. Lots of eye contact, which, again, I see this in salespeople all the time. They don't have a lot of good eye contact, and you'll see later I have a slide. Everybody's attention is down on the table, and that is not engaging anyone. You have to have a personal engagement with people. You got to look into their eyes. They have the ability to draw people in. I've never met him, but I actually just met somebody who met Bill Clinton. And he said, and I've heard this before about Bill Clinton, that when there can be 1,000 people at an event that he's at, but when he's talking to you, he looks right at you. He doesn't do what I call the neocon look, which is, oh yeah, how you doing? Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Things happening. Oh, good. Yeah. Great. And they're working the room. You know, he looks right at you like you are the only person, and that's how he becomes so effective that he was or was not, depending on how you see Bill Clinton, during his presidency. They ask excellent questions, which we're going to cover in a few seconds. They're excellent listeners, because one of the things that I saw was a photograph of Bill Clinton sitting with Barack Obama. It was really, I love studying like body language and stuff, and it was so interesting. So Barack was like he was talking, and Bill Clinton was sitting like this, with his finger over that crooked finger, over his mouth. And what I thought was so interesting, and it was just a photograph, so I don't know, but of course I put a whole story to it. And I said, isn't that interesting? It's almost as though he doesn't want to talk because he wants to listen. And so he's got his finger over his mouth. And now because I am really working on my listening skills because I love to talk. But whenever I'm in a situation where I ask questions and I got to shut up and listen, in my mind I envision that, like I'm putting my finger over my mouth. I envision Bill Clinton just listening. Letting it be silent or letting the other person talk. It's pretty powerful. It's really powerful. And they're very sincere. That's another thing. You've got to be sincere. You can't fake it. I have seen so many salespeople, oh my gosh, they took Sales 101 someplace and they say, so Laura, today I'm going to show you the systems, Laura, that I think you're going to really find very interesting, Laura. I've heard that. I've heard that. It's not made up. And they're memorable, which sets you apart, and they're expert persuaders, and they get to yes for results. And as I said before, they are always closing. There are no closing techniques in my view. I believe you're always closing. From the minute you walk in and talk to somebody, you are starting the close of that sale, and then you just move that process forward. So now we're going to find out how to get to yes. First, you have to have passion and enthusiasm. You've got to have passion. And as Emerson said, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. And that's one of the things that saved my butt selling, because I didn't have the techniques that I'm teaching now back when I was selling. I wish I did. But when I was selling, people liked me because I was really enthusiastic. I was passionate about what I did. I loved what I did. I loved educating people. That was my passion. So you got to have passion while you're selling, and you got to find something to be passionate about. And then the most successful salespeople buy into it, hook, line, and sinker. And if you do not believe in what you're selling, hook, line, and sinker, I can guarantee you, you may have a modicum of success, but you're not going to excel in sales. If in the back of your mind you're thinking, oh my God, I hate this stuff, but hi, how are you? Yes, that's not going to work, because people pick up on it immediately. People pick up on it immediately. So how does passion sell? Because that's what we're here to learn. First of all, it's contagious. Clients can feel it. Clients can feel your passion. Second of all, it establishes a belief in you. And the example I give here, does anybody ever watch, I'm going to admit it, so let's all come clean. Anyone ever watch HSN or QVC ever? Come on, girls. Really? Yes. Come on. And I know some of you men do. You just won't admit it. I know you do. So that my example is that those companies are I couldn't find the figures on them, and I'm not sure why, but they're multi-billion-dollar companies, I'm quite sure. And one of the reasons is they have such passion when they're selling things. This is the example I give. So they will have an earring, this earring, and they say, look, and they all have their little white, what are those, French manicures, and they go, look at the earring. Look at the roundness of that stone, the way it glimmers in the light, and how it's attached to the beautiful, look at the locking mechanism on this earring. It's right? That's how they sell.
But they title it so you think it's a good movie or something.
Oh, yeah.
You flip to it and it's like, oh.
Oh, can you see? So you flip to, and they are so sincere in they make a button look like something that just fell out of heaven. I mean, it's unbelievable. But that's why all these big time designers are on QVC, because they sell a load of stuff. Lots of stuff. And it's because of this. It's truly because of this. It's not about the product, because the products are crappy. It's about this. They are. They're all polyester. They're crappy. So that's what sells. Passion makes sales presentation become memorable. You will remember me, I'm sure. At least for a month, I hope longer. But you'll remember me because I'm memorable. I'm out there. I'm memorable. You'll remember me. And that's what makes you memorable. And the best part is that you become trustworthy, just like HSN and QVC. You become trustworthy when you're passionate, you get out there, you don't sell product, you really become a person that clients can trust. And people only buy from people they know, like, and trust. That's just a fact. They only buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So you'll be going beyond selling product because it'll be felt through your passion. And it's not a bad thing for guys. You know, I know passion is a little, touchy-feely girly. But I'm talking about just being passionate about what you're doing. And we've seen that a lot in men, that they're really passionate. So objections become less important. You become memorable, and you start to break the cycle of pre-2008 business as usual. But some salespeople stop here, and this is what they tell me. I love these. My clients love me. Oh my God, if I heard this one more time when I was hiring, I swear to God, I would have had to turn around. I'm a people person. My clients know who I am. Oh, all my clients know who I am. I was out with a guy a couple weeks ago who's been in the industry, I can't believe it, longer than I have. And man, those clients love him. They all know him. He's been around for literally decades. They all know him. They all come up to him. They love him. The sales in the product that I'm representing, my client, his sales are zero. But they all love him, and I believe they love him, and I believe he actually works hard, too. I don't think he's a slouch. I think he works hard. He doesn't sell. He doesn't sell. He services his clients, runs things around for them. And that I'm great at building rapport. That's another one. Here's the biggest one that I get all the time. Sales is, I ask people, what do you think sales is about? They go, oh, it's all about relationships. All about relationships. And I say, it actually isn't. Because yes, while it's important to have rapport with your clients, you could be like this darling baby. Who doesn't love this baby? So people are going to love you, but do you think that makes a sale? It doesn't make a sale. So you have to go beyond that, and you have to incorporate some skills. So preparation is one of them, because preparation instills confidence. I was actually, it's so funny, because I was practicing the speech this morning, so I went through my last run. Even though I've given this a number of times, I wanted to be really prepared, even though I didn't know the press enter. I'll notice. But I wanted to make sure that I felt confident so that I could exude that confidence to you, because I don't want to come in here going, well, I think, and I don't know, and no, yeah. So I wanted to be sure. And as I was talking about this guide, I was saying the same exact thing. I was saying, I was doing this presentation this morning before I came here, and I was saying the same exact thing. You also have to know your product. Even though I told you not to sell product, you need to know your product. You need to know all about it. And here's my story, my best sales story I'm sharing with you today. I was a national for a leather company in Chicago, out in Westchester, Illinois. I lost them in 2008. I'm now working with them again. Hallelujah. So we were launching in some showrooms on the West Coast, some very high-end showrooms. This is a 30-year-old company whose sales were really flat. And we launched at this huge showroom. And so when I was training people, this is what I knew. I knew that there was Edelman out there. Does everyone know who Edelman is? Edelman Leathers? I knew there was Spinnyback. You all know who Spinnyback is, right? I knew there was Moore & Giles. I knew there were all these companies that were far better branded than my company that I was representing. I knew they did more advertising. I knew most of them, Moore & Giles, had better pricing than we had. We were pretty expensive. And I knew a lot of them had better delivery. So that's what I was up against. Plus, leather's a commodity. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't say the wood grain. I couldn't say the color. I couldn't say anything. It's a commodity. It's brown leather. What are you going to say about brown leather? This is a little smaller. This is a little larger grain. So that was what I was up against. And that's a lot of the excuses I get from people who I'm training to sell. Those are the excuses I get all the time. But what I knew was I knew the company's history. It was a great history, a family-owned company. People loved hearing about it. I knew that we had great presentation samples because I had redone their presentation samples. I really had enthusiasm, even though I don't eat meat. It's actually leather's a really cool thing because it's a byproduct of the meat industry. So I don't care if people eat meat. I don't, but it's something that we can use. And if we didn't use it, it would go into a landfill. So that became green. That became a green story. I knew I had pretty good presentation skills because I've been doing it for 25 years. But even more is I knew my competition too. But most importantly, I learned what was important to the client. And that is a big deal in sales. No one cares about us. No one cares about our product. We have to know what's important to them in order to fill that need and become valuable. And that's what gives you the competitive edge, and that's what goes beyond selling product. So, how did I do that? Well, with my leather company, I went to customer service. It was simple. Went to customer service, said, okay, I want to know the 3 biggest obstacles that you get calls on all the time. And they said it was pigment versus aniline dye. They didn't understand it. They didn't understand the 18, why you have to multiply times 18, and they didn't understand why their cutting was always different from their sample. So what did I do with that information? I opened my presentation. I didn't bring out one bit of new product. This is what I opened my presentation with. So I said I'm going to do Leather 101. I know you probably know all of this because I don't want to disrespect anyone in my mind in saying that. And that's what I opened my presentation with. And guess what? It made me a perceived expert. People saw me not as selling another product or another leather line, who cares, but they actually started to see me as a leather expert. And I only told them 3 things. I didn't know everything there was to know about leather. So the results are you become valuable. And that is part of the relationship, but it's the value you bring to a client. So you become valuable, and you can't be replaced. The product can be replaced so easily. You know, there's so much of it out there. I mean, certainly leather, oh my gosh. Because clients need to see the value, and the new direction of selling is value-based, and value is not always money. Jeffrey Gitomer is somebody, he's a crazy sales trainer, but I love his books. And what he says is if you think it's valuable and your customer doesn't perceive it's valuable, it ain't valuable. So how do you find out what's valuable? The other thing I love that I always say all the time is advice is more important than price. Advice is much more important than price. And perceived value, when I say value, I'm not talking about money. Remember Starbucks? That had nothing to do with money. You don't go into Starbucks and ask if you can have a discount on their coffee. Because, you know, times are tough. Can I have a discount? No, you don't go in and ask them that. But it's the perceived value. Well, maybe some of you do. I don't know. I don't. But it's the perceived value. And what I have at the top is what you should always go into a presentation with. I'm showing you this because it will help you fill in the blank. Not I'm showing you more product, but because it'll help you. So you need to know your competitors, especially ones they use often. And what do? You ask who, and then you ask why. Because when I was selling leather, I would do a little game because that's my personality. But I would say, we're going to play word association now. So I'm going to say a word, and then you're going to tell me the first company that comes to your mind. So I would say leather, and they would say Edelman, or Spinnebeck, or Moore & Giles. And then I would say, more importantly, why? And they would say, well, and I always knew because I knew my competitors. But they'd say, well, Edelman has beautiful color, because that's the way they have framed their line in the design industry. They're this colorful, even though they only spec brown leather and occasionally a red. But that was, so I would say, well, you know what, it's interesting. And I'd go in my bag, and that would be the first time I would show product, because I'd show them a color story from Clean. We have beautiful colors too. If it was price, I'd bring out a price-driven product. If it was whatever it was, I had an answer to it. And they will literally give you your presentation on a silver platter. And then you can position your product, so you're no longer relying on product. So you need to be a chameleon. I'm sure all of you know this. You know, cultures of companies are different, but I want to get to something that's more important, is engaging your client. Because I was talking about it before, lots of eye contact, because this is not engaging. Looking down at your product is not engaging. And I'm certainly not suggesting that you're not going to show product, but you got to engage with them first. And you have to own the room. That's Lady Gaga. It's not me. I don't do that in the evenings, even though. So what I do is I immediately walk into a presentation room and I assess the room really quickly, and I position that designer with as few distractions as possible. So for instance, in this case, I would never position the designer there, because outside he or she would constantly be looking outside. Or sometimes there's glass conference rooms, and I've done this before I knew better. I position them here. Here's the glass conference room, and what's happening. As I'm doing my flipping show, they're going, and they're watching everybody that's walking by. And if you think people don't do that, I was just out with the same salesperson I was talking about before, and we were in this conference room that was pretty similar to this, only it was a presentation room, so it had these long tables, and we were in there alone at first, and I said, oh, this is great, okay, and I started taking out my stuff, and he's like, you know what, and then the designer walked in, he said, so I couldn't say anything, he said, you know what, let's go out in where there's more light and more action and activity, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want more action and activity, so we went out there, and sure enough, couldn't keep those designers' attention. They kept looking up. When people would walk by, they kept looking up. So assess your presentation room when you're giving the presentation, and position yourself to be the center of attention. Always, always, always you want to be in control of your presentation. This is the last part of my presentation about listening skills. Well, actually I have one more real quickly. Why do salespeople talk a lot? I talk a lot, because I need to show my expertise. That was one of the reasons. We get nervous, so we talk. We fill the space with words. We have no plan or objective, and it's in our DNA. The no plan or objective is the real bad one when we walk into it, and I have done it thousands of times. Grabbed my bag, thrown it in a taxi, in a bus or whatever, gone out with no plan or objective. Just gone out, got to make my 4 sales calls 5 days a week, my 20. So what do we do to talk less? We just ask questions. People love talking about themselves, so just ask them questions about themselves. And then listen. So next, we're going to go beyond small talk. This is all during your presentation, to uncovering the needs of the client. Because if you don't uncover the needs of your client, literally you are riding your bike in sand, you're wasting your time. If you go in there and just talk about product and you don't know what they need, you're riding your bike in sand. You're working really hard, but you're not getting anywhere. So you need to uncover their needs. Because dialogue, and that's my logo up there, which you can hardly see, is a door opener. Dialogue always opens doors. So open-ended questions, many salespeople skip this step. Why? Because we just want to be liked. As salespeople, we always want to be liked. We have the disease to please, we all do. And we need to be accepted, so we don't want to ask those hard questions. And we hate rejection. Those are the 3 reasons. But these reasons can be sales killers. They can kill a salesperson, I know. So what are open-ended questions? You all know what they are, right? Open-ended, we all know. So they're questions that can't be answered with yes or no. They're very specific, which is something I learned. They're very, very specific. They engage the client, and they get facts. So there's 3 types. There's the rapport, so how long have you been with this company is a great icebreaker. Even if you've called on them for a long time, you can say, you know, I've been calling on you forever, but I don't know how long you've been here. So you can do it even if you've been calling on them. That's one great one. What did you do before? These are all really good questions. And I will send you my open-ended question sheet too, so we'll go quickly through this. And then information gathering is, and these are important, tell me what impression you have of my line. I use that all the time. Does anybody in here use that line? I use it all the time. Tell me what you think of my line. What do you think of our collections? How do you see these fitting into your projects? I would never ask that. Oh my God. I feel like I'd get so rejected. And then qualifying is, what are your current needs and how can I help you? People ask that. It's a really good question. What's your budget? I never asked budget because I always sold high-end. I didn't want to know what their budget was. Never ever asked about budget. I'd call my national sales manager and she goes, well, do you know what the budget is? And I'd go, no. Well, go find out what the budget is. Are there current projects you see my line working? These are all really good questions. Do you typically work with certain purchasers? That's always good to know because you got to work those purchasers too. How does the decision-making process work? And this is a really interesting one that I thought of about 3 or 4 months ago. I thought, this is really, I never would think to ask this, but what has changed since I've last been here? And you know why that's important? Because they might say, you may be working with a group where Joe is involved in that group. Well, Joe has left, or Joe has gone to another design firm. So you need to A, know where they went, but more importantly, who replaced Joe. So you can get, but so many times we're so busy and we go into design firms or end users or wherever we're going and we forget to ask any of these questions. And it's so important. And of course, pepper them throughout your, don't put a light on them and give them the 3rd degree. And then listen. Here's what listening is. Here's what listening is. And I'm working really hard on my listening skills. That's why I said I do this now. Don't think of answering. We all think of answering. When we ask a question, we're already on the next question, on the answer, defending, whatever we're doing. Don't interrupt. I have a horrible habit of interrupting. Defer judgment, pay attention, and show that you're listening by acknowledging. This is a line I've used hundreds of times. When somebody tells me something, I mirror it back to them so they know that I was listening to them. So what I hear you saying is, you have this project that you're working on and blah, blah, blah. Everyone wants to be acknowledged. And focus on the project, not the product. So you want to match the product to the project. You don't want to just find out what they're working on and then show them a bunch of stuff and then leave. You want to know what product you have that will be relevant for those projects. So before each call, you want to think, what do I want to accomplish? I never, ever used to think this. What do I want to accomplish here? Okay. And then how am I going to do that? That's the planning part. And then after each call, you think, did I accomplish my goals? This I did do. I didn't know what my goals were, but I said, oh, did that call go well? And if not, what could I have done differently? And you don't want to deal the deck. I get this so much from salespeople where they just order catalogs, binders, all colorways, boxes, whatever, and then you see no sales results. You really want to qualify more, and designers, people will respect you more actually. So one of the ways that I built a sales force at Larson was we had a line called Rogers & Gothic, and it was all linen. It was primarily residential, and we had no idea how to increase these sales because it was way before there were any other beautiful linen lines. So I got together because my boss at the time, before I got there, said we were going to do 200,000 in a year. We did 20. Needless to say, they weren't real happy with us. So I said, I gathered the group, how are we going to do this? How are we going to increase the sales? And we knew that it wasn't for everybody, so we said, how about if we focus on the critical few instead of the insignificant many? So I said, let's find 5 clients in every single territory that can use the product on more than one project, because that's when the sales go up and down, when they can only use it on one project, who understand our product. Everyone didn't understand Rogers & Gothic, and it wasn't for everybody, and who have enough business to support, sustain ordering, sustain multiple orders. And then you just grow that every time you add to it. instead of decreasing it, you add to it. And I tell everyone, please get off the hamster wheel. We're all on hamster wheels, and as the economy gets worse, we go faster. You need to have time to analyze, because sometimes, oh my God, that's my phone, sorry. Sometimes 2 great B accounts can be worth much more than an A account. Sorry. Forgot to turn my phone off. This has happened to me where I was calling on one of the 3-letter firms, and I was running around like a maniac with them, like a maniac, doing everything they were asking me to do because they were one of those 3-letter firms and they were renowned, and I was going to do everything in my power to service them. Never seeing my fabric all over their boards, seeing my furniture all over their boards, and then I look at their sales, and again, it's like cricket. So I don't know what they were doing, but they weren't buying my materials. They weren't buying my product. So I realized that I better go after 2B accounts because I have a sales goal, and I don't care how A account they are thought of in the industry. They're not an A account to me. But the only way you're going to learn that is by analyzing. That's the only way I found out that it was. Because some clients aren't worth it when they get in the way of those who are. And I think sometimes we're blinded by those 3 letters, as I call them. So time management, I'm going to go through this real quickly because I know I'm going over. But basically, these are what we're dealt with every day with emails and barrage and our bosses screaming at us to get more sales. I will tell you the secret of getting more sales with less effort. This is going to be the big secret. You got to slow down. You got to take time, you got to back away, you got to really analyze what you're doing, and if it's getting you the results that you want, are you getting those sales goals? Are you really getting in there and discovering what these clients need? Are you of value to these clients? Because you need to be of value to them. It's not about your products, folks. I'm telling you, it's not about the products. I increased the leather sales when I was a national. In 3 years, I increased leather sales, by $3 million. And that was a lot for them because they were really flat. And the way that I did it was the things that I talk about today. That's the exact way I did it. I didn't do anything differently, and I learned so much, and now that's what I want to teach all of you. So you need to plan. You need to do annual goals. You need to do quarterly goals. Thank you. Sorry,
Thank you so much.
I know, sorry.
You're fantastic.
Daily plan. Oh, it was. Thank you. Pre-call preparations, post-call analysis, much like football, and prioritize what makes money first. Don't necessarily go into your office that day and get on email, because that may not be what's going to make you money. You've got to prioritize what's making you money first. And you got to have a game plan. You have to have a game plan. And you have to have time to improve. You have to go to classes. You have to read articles. This is all. You have to come to me. I will help you. But these are all things that are going to help you improve. And we're running around in our hamster wheels without time to, drink a glass of water. And so we need to slow down. And then follow-up. Don't use the word follow-up, please. I had a guy, I signed up for a piece of software. It was from Adobe. And I had the sales rep was calling me for 4 weeks, every single week. And I would look at it and I'd say, I'm not answering the phone. It says Adobe, I'm not answering the phone. Because he had no interest in what my needs were. All he would say is, I'm following up on, you signed up to, have a free demo, and I'm following up on it now. He had no idea what my needs were, none whatsoever. He had no idea. And I never, ever answered the phone. So you blend them in, and you start out with things that you discover and then blend them in. Don't ride your bike in sand. We can all work really hard. I thought I coined this phrase, but I don't think I did. Did I coin that phrase? But I see it all the time. But of course, what I mean by that, when I was at Pranage especially, but even at Larson, my staff used to come up to me, I work so hard, oh my God, I'm working 12 hours a day and I can't do any more. And our sales weren't doing anything yet. So I said, well, let's talk about, are you working, are we getting some results here, or what are you doing? Let's talk about it, because if you get on the Oak Street beach on the beach on a bicycle and you start to pedal. If you want to lose weight, great, perfect, because you'll never get anywhere, but you lose tons of weight. But if you want to get to Hollywood or you want to get to the destination, you better get it off the sand and put it on the cement bike path, and then you'll be able, and it'll be a lot easier. You won't be working as hard. So the more you love what you do, the more you'll sell. Oh, sorry. Get off of there. The more you prepare for the sale, the more you sell. The more authentic you are and the more you love what you do, the more you'll sell. The more you believe in you and what you sell, the more you'll sell. And the fewer excuses you use, the more you'll sell. So we're going to go into, and it will be breaking the cycle. I promise you, if you do any of these techniques I've taught you today, I promise you, money-back guarantee that your sales will increase. And then you can apply it to everything, even brown leather. So this was very functional for us for many years. Not me, even I'm not that old, but a typewriter was very, very functional. For many years it served us well. It really served us well, but it doesn't anymore. So I'm asking you to think differently about the way you sell. Think differently about the way you approach your clients, and try to incorporate some of these thoughts into it. Ending with my favorite quote from Steve Jobs, and I won't read the whole quote to you, but what I will read, he talks about people who think differently. And the last sentence is amazing. He says about the only thing you can't do to these people who think differently is ignore them because they change things. And so that's what I'm on my platform about in our beloved industry, is that we all become change agents. We all go out there in the world and become change agents, because I've heard from way too many companies that it's just not working, that the sales are flat, or they're slightly increasing, business is a little better, but we all want, no matter what, we all want to increase our sales. That's why you're all here. None of you knew me, so it wasn't coming here for me. It was coming here because you were interested in the subject of increasing sales. So I'm going to hand out, we're going into the hashtag no excuse. Everyone hashtag no excuse. And so if you leave your information with me, I'm going to pass these out. You can take them with you, fill them out when you want. Drop them, well, actually you can't. You should do it today, because you can't drop them in the mail. You don't know my address. But you all have my email address, and actually you do all have my address on my card. So if you want any more help, are there any questions at all? Please don't be shy about asking questions. I love answering questions. So I have a number of different ways that I work with people. I have a great coaching circle that is a mere $37 a month, and it's 4 calls a week, and if you can't make the call, you can actually type your question to me and I'll answer it on the call, and then you'll get the recording. But if you want to be on the call, it's every Friday, and if you want to be on the call, you can be on the call, ask me a question if you're having a problem, if you're having some situation, you can stay anonymous. I don't tell anybody who it is, so you can stay completely anonymous. I think it's a great value, but you have to think it's a great value, and I don't have time to uncover all of your needs today.
So any questions for Deborah?
Any questions at all?
Deborah, thank you very much for your insight into information. And I'm going to add one more tip, being on the other side of the table.
Good.
Is that you talked about always closing.
Yeah.
We're always closing you. That's our goal, because we're busy and we've got a lot of options. So if you don't bring something of value, we're going to close you out from the very beginning. If I get the calls all the time, we can save you 15 to 30% on whatever X is. But you don't know what I have, so how can you know if you're selling? If you're going to save me any money. So that right now, you've already alienated. If you walk in and first thing you do is, I want to show you this, you're not listening to what Deborah said. And also, I was going to make another point. The value, obviously, is a big component. So, I'll have salespeople walk in and say, so is this your only office? I got 7 offices. So if you don't take the time, just to find out that bit of information, I'm going to close you out. So you got to remember, I'm doing the same thing you're trying to do because I need to find the nugget as fast as I can so I can move on to the next project. So just a tip from the other side. So.
Would you mind if I took just a real quick? Does anybody mind being on my Facebook page? Nobody looks at it anyways. I'm kidding. I have 235 people on my Facebook page.
Okay. While she's doing that, I'll go over the other details. Make sure you get your program evaluations, get your additional $5,000. We don't share information about people who've attended. If you're interested in getting more information from Deborah, leave your card with her.
Yeah.
We don't share anything with you. And the last thing that I want to make sure we do at every presentation, we value education, we support the IFMA Foundation, and for every speaker we have, we donate $25 in their name. So a certificate in your name will be going to the IFMA Foundation. We have raised over $1,700 to date with this program, so we'll continue to do it to support the foundation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That is so cool.
We go against the wall. I don't think got the evaluation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're not doing it.
Right now,
Jerry, did you say her presentation is online? Will her presentation
I did. My stamp would probably be a little bit different. How to sell C-suite, how to get other departments and other stakeholders in the company. Agendas.
How are you? That's very similar. I mean, you're still selling to your customers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.